Hello there, my name is Betsy, and in today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to create a very lovely drawing that is composed of a few flowers and some other nice little elements. And so I'm going to show you here, this is the first drawing that I created. As you can see, I made it on some kind of tan paper. It's almost like a manila color, and all I did, I used one pen and one pencil. And the size of it is actually pretty manageable. It's only 7 inches by 5 inches. And in today's drawing, we're actually going to be recreating this on white paper instead. This is cardstock. You can use any paper that you like. And again, this is 7 inches by 5 inches. I'm just trying to make sure that the drawing is manageable, because sometimes when we draw a little bit too large, we get carried away and it's hard to finish our drawings. So for today, I would also like to encourage you to pause at any time that you feel like it's going a little too fast for you. Maybe you need more time. So just pause the video and then you can catch up. So here we're just going to get started right now. On our paper, all we're going to do is just get started by creating a bit of a simple frame just around the edge here, removing anywhere from 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 of an inch off the edge. And all this is going to do is just help us contain our drawing. Sometimes when we draw things, we kind of get carried away and get too close to the edge, and it cuts off some pieces of our drawing, and we don't want to do that. So just got a nice simple frame with the pencil. And then I'm just going to reach over and I'm going to grab one of my favorite pens here. And of course, you are welcome to use any pen that you have. There are all sorts of wonderful options. I'm just going to get one of my favorites here. And what this is, it's a Tombow pen. Brand new, so it's going to be perfect. It's a Fudenosuke. If you've never tried this, this is a brush pen, and it does have water-based pigment. So it's not really a good pen for using any kind of watercolor over the top of it, but this is a good pen for finishing off projects if you're going to use ink on top of something else. So here we go. Let's get started here. So what we're going to do, because there are going to be 2 flowers as the main focus, let's begin by making the centers of those flowers, just to kind of figure out where they're going to go. So here I'm going to make a circle of about this size. That's going to be for one flower. And then over here, about here, let's make a circle that's a little smaller, maybe about half the diameter as the first one. So there we go. This helps set up kind of the mood for the drawing. So let's use this big circle over here. We're going to turn this into our first flower. It's going to be kind of a daisy. And just to help myself out a little bit, I'm going to sketch in this circle that's going to tell me how far my petals are going to go. This isn't necessary, but I like to do it when I draw a big flower like this. So here you go. These are just some really easy, almost slightly pointed petals, just like this. And then I fill in between them with some ink. So this is the simple shape we're going to use. And inside of each, we're just going to put these 3 dashes, just like this. 1, 2, 3. So I'm just going to start working my way around this circle, making these simple petals. You can make these round if you like. Those would look quite nice as well. Mine are just slightly pointed, simply because I wanted these flowers to look a little bit like a sunflower or just a really nice big daisy. That's the look that I'm going for. So they're slightly pointed petals. So you can see I'm just working my way around. I'm not really sure how many petals I'll have, but I'll do my best to try to get them to fit in. And either way, even if the petals aren't perfectly fit in there, then that's okay. And natural flowers have all sorts of interesting kind of setups as well. So no worries. At the end, you might end up with like a little tiny petal or a big petal, and that's fine. It's going to look just fine. So there's no need to worry about that. Just keep working your way around. So there I'm going with my petals. I just kind of lean back a little bit and just check that the petals aren't leaning too far to one way, maybe to the left or right. Just kind of, they're nice and straight. That's the only thing that I really like to do. So there we go. There's a petal. I think I should be able to fit 2 more in here. Should be fine. There we go, right there. 3 dashes. And I'll add another one right here. Perfectly fine. See, looks great. There we go. So there we have our first row of petals on this larger flower here. And you can go around and kind of tidy it up a bit if you want at this point. I think I'm going to add just some ink here just to kind of smooth out that line. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle, of course. It's perfectly fine. There we go. So I'm just doing this to smooth it out and to kind of thicken that line. So now what I'm going to do is right here, I'm going to start adding a second row of petals, and they're kind of peeking out from behind that first row. So as you can see, I'm just going to go through there really gently, just add a little curve like that, and then 3 dashes. And so that way it just looks like they belong, like they're just like the ones in the front. So there we go, a line and 3 dashes. So there we go, there's that curve. I'll just work my way around. Looks pretty good. And so you can see why it is that I prefer that pen here. This pen that's a brush pen, it really helps me create lines that go from kind of thick to thin. And I just enjoy it a lot. Like I said, it's fine if you use whichever pen you've got. I don't want you worrying about having a fancy pen or anything like that. Just use what you've got. It's actually perfectly fine if you want to do this entirely with a pencil. You can also do that. It's perfectly fine. This can be done by anybody. So there we go. Look at that. We've got a nice big daisy. This is going to be one of the central pieces of our drawing. So let's remove that pencil line since in our drawing we don't need it. There we go. And now we can head over to that other circle and start creating a flower on that one as well. So in order to do this one, because it is a little smaller, something that I like to do is I like to break this up into quadrants. So here we go. It's like north, south, east, and west right here. So these are quadrants. And then I'm going to cut those in half. There we go. So now I have 8 sections that are relatively equally spaced. And what I can do at this point, if I really wanted to, I could go and grab my pencil and create that circle just like I did in the last one. But I'm going to show you what it looks like when you don't use that circle. I'm just going to go straight in there with the pen. Just start making my petals. They look just like the petals in the other flower, except there's only going to be 8 of them. And notice it's okay if some are longer or if some are a little bit wider. It's all right if they're slightly different. There we go. We've got exactly 8 of them. Looks pretty good. No problem. And we're just going to kind of accentuate those little lines inside. I like to make them curve a little more, just like this. It almost creates a little triangle at the bottom. And just like with the other flower, I'm going to create these 3 dashes inside of each petal. There we go. So I create a little triangle like that, and then 3 dashes. Again, this is where it shows how perfect it is to have a brush pen. I just really like that. Otherwise, if I didn't have a brush pen, that would be absolutely no problem. I would just use my pen to kind of create a line like this that is a little thicker at the bottom and then kind of thinner at the top. That's it. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Pretty nice. So we've got our 3 dashes. And then here's this one. We're just going to do 1, 2, and 3. And then right here, 1, 2, and 3. So that looks pretty good so far. And I think that I would like to do the same thing here, just like I did in this one, where I'm also going to add that second layer of petals. So let's go ahead and do that. So there we go. We just add that curve. And again, the curve and then the 3 lines. So let's just continue around there doing that. I think that looked pretty good in the other version of it as well. Sometimes I don't add these extra layers of petals, but I think for this one it's just kind of what I'm going for here. It'll look really nice. So there we go. 1, 2, 3. And then the curve for the petal, and then 1, 2, 3. Same thing right here. There we go. So we have all 8 of them in place. You can clean up any lines that you think maybe you got carried away. So there we go. There are 2 flowers. These are going to be the core of our drawing. You can see they already take up so much space. I have a tendency to work this way, and hopefully you're going to enjoy it as well. So there we go. That's the beginning. We have our flowers in. Now we're going to start adding a few more elements here, but before we do that, one thing that I like to do is to just darken that line around the edge of the flower. So notice how I'm just using my pen. At this point, if you'd like, if you have a marker, you can use that marker to do this here. So all I'm doing is just going around, just going to take my time, and I'm using it just to make that line dark. What this is going to do is it's going to help those flowers really come out, and they're going to look like they're on top of everything. It's almost like this is implying that there's a shadow. And this technique is done on a lot of drawings, a lot of illustrators. Just making a thicker line like that can really help those elements in the foreground just really pop. There we go. So now we have a nice dark line there. So now we're going to move on to this area right here, and we're going to draw our first leaf. And for this design, we're going to start with just a nice dark line, and down towards the end it's going to curve and create this kind of a teardrop shape. And we can do this without the pencil, but I'm going to show you how you can use a pencil here to kind of create the shape. We're going to make this nice pudgy leaf. So I'm going to let this kind of curve out really nicely, just like that. This is the shape that I'm going to create, and I'll show you the lines that I'm going to use for this. So we're going to use all line work. So let me zoom in here really nicely. So starting from here, you're going to make a nice line curving up and joining there. We're going to repeat this many, many times. So again, like this, and then a curve. I'm just going to keep making more of these curves. Again, again, and again. If you've never drawn this before, I suggest you can always pause and go back and watch it again. So it's just lots of repeated curves just like this. Let me show you the other side now. From the bottom, head up like that, and again, and again, and again. And you're just going to keep repeating these, following the edge of that pencil line. So right to that pencil line. It's a nice curve. If you want to make it look extra nice, make sure they're nice and curvy, like an S shape almost. So there we go. That is our leaf. And I'm just going to remove that pencil line here. I don't need it anymore. So that looks pretty good right there. Okay, so over here now, how about we start filling in some of these little spaces? And so what I'm going to do is just start setting it up again with that darker line. So again, I'm going around the edge of the flower here. Just one little space at a time. There we go. Again, don't forget you could always use a marker. If you have a marker on hand, you can use that to make a nice dark line just around the edge of the flower. So here we go. This is pretty good here. Just working my way around. Okay, that's pretty good. Just going to be doing a couple more as we get to the end here. And there we go. All right, so we've got a nice dark line. This helps make sure that it's nice and separate. So now let's head over here and make another one of these leaves. So here we're going to get more practice with that design. So it's going to be about right here, and then here are the curves of it. So there we go. There's the shape with the pencil. Let me change a little. There we go. And so now we can just start using the pen, and we're going to start this the same way. So right here, let's start a line that curves and has a bit of a teardrop at the end, just like that. And then we're going to start adding all the curves. There's 1, 2, 3. There we go. And we're just going to keep going, making sure we stay along the edge with that pencil line all the way to the bottom. There we go. So let's do the other side. I'm going to turn this around just because it's easier for me to do when I flip it over like this. So there we go. Like that. Just follow that pencil line. Like that. There we go. Just one at a time. We'll get there. Okay, looks pretty good. And there we go. So there we go. There's our leaf. So turning it back around, that's what it looks like. So now that we have 2 of them, it looks a little bit more balanced. Looks pretty good. Notice that it is okay to go past that line of your frame. It's okay to go past it a tiny bit. It looks kind of nice. So now that we have both of our leaves, let's start filling in some of these spaces in the center. So I'm going to fill in the middle right here. And before I do that though, I'm looking at this circle and I'm going to show you something that we can do here. It's called stippling. We're just going to add some dots. There we go. Lots and lots of little dots. It's such a tiny space, this actually won't take very long. If you were doing a big drawing and doing dots, this would take quite a while, but this is just a tiny little spot. We're just going to try to concentrate those dots along the edge, since that's where the shadow is going to be even darker. If you are uncomfortable doing stippling like this, you're welcome to leave this and just use a pencil on it later. You're welcome to color it or to use any other method you are comfortable with to kind of deal with this. I'm just showing you right here how it will look if you add dots like this to do the stippling. So there you see, lots and lots of little dots, not too many. It just takes a minute or two. And now let's add a few details here. Let me show you this one. This one has circles, and what it does is we're going to line them up in a certain way so it looks like it's got a nice curvature to it, and I'm going to show you how to do that as well. You're welcome to leave this alone and just color it later in another way, but let's try this here. Let's start in the very center with, let's say, 3 circles, just like this. They don't have to be perfect. So this is where it's really facing you and the circles look almost perfect. So now as we head outwards from there, we're going to start drawing these circles a little bit more oblong. So these are now kind of squashed just a little bit. So you see that? Let's add a few more. There we go. We took those circles and we flattened them out a little bit. They're still on the large side. We didn't let them get smaller. All we did was we kind of compressed them. So there we go. So now on the very last row of circles, we're just going to let them get even more squashed. Just try your best. It's okay if it doesn't look perfect. Just try to kind of change the shape of them as you head out. And they're just going to get flatter and flatter, just like coins. And what this is going to do is it's going to create that wonderful look of making it look like it's 3-dimensional. And that face of that surface is falling away. So there we go. See, pretty good. Just like that. So there we go. We added those circles. It looks very dimensional. Looks pretty good there. There we go. So finally we can actually start working on that center. Just for some reason, the cores of those flowers just really grabbed my attention at the moment. So there we go. We're going to draw these thick lines around the edge there. You'll notice that we're going to be doing that a lot. We're going to draw these thick lines along the edges. It kind of helps separate things. So we're going to go in this little area here. Just going to draw this nice curve here and another curve right next to it. There we go. So here's what we're going to do is we're just going to move over here. We're going to do another one like that. 2 lines together. So what these two are going to serve as is as little separators, just so that we can start filling those smaller areas with some texture. So let me choose this one right here, and I'm just going to start drawing some circles. Just circles, medium circles, tiny circles. So I'm just filling the area. As I head towards the edge of that space, I generally make the circles even smaller. So you'll notice here they just get super, super tiny. There we go, just like that. And so when I go to this area here, how about I add more circles? I'm going to do the same thing. Kind of start in the middle and head out towards the edge of the space. Just like that. They're a little bit scribbly sometimes too. It's okay if they're not perfect. Just head towards the edge. So there we go. That's pretty good. That's a nice texture. And now right here, I'm just going to continue adding some circles. It's just to fill this space, and this is a nice quick way to do it. Just fill it with circles. It adds some texture. There we go. So that's pretty good right there. So we just added texture to that. And I'm just going to do a tiny bit of stippling just because I want it to look a little darker here. You don't have to do this. It's perfectly fine if you're not comfortable doing stippling. It's just something that I like to do sometimes just to add a little bit more depth. So there we go. So there's the center of our drawing done. This is a pretty good start to our drawing. There we go. So now what we're really going to be doing now is we're just going to keep embellishing it and just add so much more detail. Let's go over here and let's darken this line. Notice we're going to do that a lot, all right? So just keep in mind we're going to darken some of those edges. So right here, we're going to draw an arch. Let's start with this arch. There we go. It's just a partial circle. Let's do another one right above it. There we go. And how about inside of there? Let's do some circles. That's pretty good. Nice, easy. There we go. 2 lines filled with circles. In here, all I'm going to do is I'm going to make a bunch of lines that converge upon that point right there. So down in there, it's like a wheel, like the spokes of a wheel. There we go. Down to the middle, just like that. Pretty good. Okay. So I'm pretty happy with that, just like that. Now we're going to add a few more details to this. How about we draw another arc like that? There we go. Just to kind of add another little layer to it. And then we can add another little detail. How about, let's make this nice little wavy line. Oh, there we go, like that. It's a little wonky. It looks pretty neat. And then we're going to add just some little dashes in here. Just heading outward. Just radiating out. And notice that when I add these, I make them in different lengths. So it goes from short to medium to long to medium to short. Just kind of alternate. They're not all going to be the same length. There we go. That's pretty good. All right, so that looks pretty good. Since we've got quite a bit of space here, I think I would like to add a couple more of these kind of shapes. So how about we use this spot right here, and let's start another one. So let's do this kind of partial circle here. And for this one, I'm just going to fill it with black. There we go. Now I'm going to add another partial circle over the top, or an arc, or an arch, or however you like to think of it. So there we go. There's the second one. How about this time we just do dots inside of that? There we go. Dots all the way to the edge like that. That's pretty good. And now for the next pattern, let's do another arc all the way around. There we go. This one's further apart. Notice it's wider. I'm going to add some of these lines here. Again, radiating outward, just like that. Again, like the spokes on a wheel. Let me add more here. There we go. And what I'm going to try to do, although this isn't necessary, is make them thicker along the inside and thinner on the outside. Let's see if I can accomplish that. It's okay if you don't want to try to do that. Some just normal straight lines are perfectly fine. Just filling it in. Lots of spokes on this wheel. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. It's like a fan. It's fanning outward just like that. Okay, so that one looks pretty good. I think what I'd like to do is add a little more embellishment. I'm going to draw just a bunch of circles along the edge there. There we go. So just going to keep adding some circles. It's pretty good. All right, that looks pretty good. So I think I'm done with that one. I'm going to make another one right here. So let's do another arc. We've got plenty of room here. Let's do an arc just like that. Okay, and I think I'm going to fill it in all the way, just like the previous one. Just fill it in with black. Helps add a lot of weight down there. Pretty good. And let's add a second arc. There we go. And another one. There's a little more room in this one, of course. Let's draw some circles in there that are not touching. Just changing it up a bit. And then how about we add to the edge of this, let's see, what's going to look nice here? How about some petals? Let's try to draw something that looks like petals. Looks pretty nice. It's like it's got a little crown. Here we go. Let's just add lots of little petals. Let's go to the edge here. There we go. So that looks pretty good. We've got this whole row of petals. And what I'm going to do, since there's just these little bitty spaces here leading to the edge, I'm just going to fill it in with some little spirals like this. A couple of spirals and a couple of circles here and there. I think that's going to look pretty nice. So there, and you'll notice any space where I don't want to put anything, I'm just going to fill it with black. There we go, and just kind of follow that line that marks our frame there. There we go, so that just fills in the space really nicely. And let's start working with this space right here. I'm just going to keep filling it a little bit with black and also with some little circles and spirals. Why not? There we go. So you'll notice that that one is sticking out past the line, and that is perfectly fine. Don't worry about it. If your design goes past the line, it's okay. Nothing's being ruined. It's okay to go past the line a little bit. It actually looks kind of cute when it's just kind of spilling out just a little bit. There we go, just like that. So remember, there are no rules to any of this. You can do it however you feel is good, however it pleases you. So there we go. It's a nice little spiral. That looks good. Let's add a couple more circles, just trying to fill in that space. Since we are about halfway through this class, I'd like to take a moment to share with you some of the journals that I've made throughout this month. I am going to be posting these up on my website this Friday, the 2nd of February at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you've been wondering how it is that you can support the work that I do when I provide these free tutorials and free classes on my channel, this is one of the ways that you can do that. I also always have a link to my Ko-Fi in the description of the videos, so you can always support that way. Now, back to the class. There we go. That's nice. Just gonna fill the spaces. This kind of takes up time. All those little spaces, little tiny spots that just need some ink. Just take your time. Just go a little bit at a time. I know that everybody has a different pace, so if you're doing this slower and you feel like you're pausing a lot, please don't feel bad about that. Everybody uses a different pace. Some people are faster, some people are slower. Just do your best, and that's fine. So now we're going to move on to this corner over here, our second corner. Let's start adding some of these kind of long, leafy or teardrop shapes. They look almost like long petals or leaves. So let's just add all these little clusters. They're going to look nice. Just kind of spraying outward, just like that. So there you go. Just let them curve around each other really gently. So here we go. There's another one. And here's another one. That's pretty good. Let's do one here. If you can, try to vary their lengths. Usually with variation, things look much better. Longer, shorter. I'm letting them all kind of spray outward from a single point. Looks like there's just like this little plant growing there. And I'm going to continue just adding ink up to that border there. There we go. So I'm filling it in. Pretty nice. And so just keep in mind I'm going to be doing that through the rest of the drawing, just kind of filling into the border. Alright, so here I'm just going to put a few circles and spirals. It's always nice if you have a spot you don't know how to fill it, you can always put a circle or a spiral there. So I just did a bit of an arch there and just filled it with black. I'm going to put one of those fan designs here. And I'm going to start by just doing some circles around that arch or that arc. So let's just start it off with some circles. And so now I want it to be about that far. So what I'm going to do is do another sequence of circles all the way out here. You can use a pencil if you want, if this is too daunting. So notice I did all those circles. Now I'm going to make lines from the outer circles just heading inward. And those don't have to match up, by the way. It's okay if they don't. Notice mine don't match up at all. They just kind of head inward and just kind of touch the inner row. Just like that. Just kind of fanning outward. And this kind of space, I'm just going to fill it with ink. There we go. And so since I have just a little space, let's put some circles and a spiral here. Just fill the rest of that up. Pretty good. All right. So there we go. It looks like that corner is done now too. We're going to start moving over here. So let's take a look at how that looks here. And I'm just going to start an arc there as well. And so we can make another one of those fan designs here. I think this is a good spot for that. Just going to thicken this line. There we go. And let me fill this one in with just all these little spokes, kind of like on a wheel. There we go. Let's draw a line here. So now it's two of these arcs. And I'm just going to do this kind again. There we go, with a nice wavy line. I thought that looked really cute on the first one. And I'm going to draw just some little dashes here. Coming off of this line, just heading outward like this. There we go. Bunch of little dashes. All right, just like that. So I do have this bit of space here, and so I do want to fill it. I don't want to leave it empty. So let's use our technique of just using some circles to fill an area. It's pretty easy. You can fill it with some spirals if you like, or some little leaves, anything that you desire at this point should be fine. Just going to fill up the little edge a bit. There we go, about here. It doesn't have to be perfect, just pretty close. I think that looks fine right there. All right, let's zoom out. Sometimes it's good to kind of lean back and just see how everything's moving along, and it's looking pretty good so far. We've got more than half of the drawing done as far as the ink work is concerned. We're doing pretty good, so we're going at a pretty steady pace. Again, make sure you take your time. If you need to, just pause That's perfectly fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep going here. I'm just going to add this nice dark line to the edge of the leaf here, just like that. And I'm going to start drawing some designs right here. So let me see. How about I just start with my usual? I'll make an arc and then I'll fill behind it with black. That's a good start. And so now that I've done that, now I have a nice curve there to work with. And so I'm just going to go ahead and add some circles right here, just a handful. There we go. And then draw a line over the top of those. So it's an arc and then 2 arcs and then 3. And inside of that last one, let's just do some dots. Pretty good. Then I'm just going to add another layer here, but instead these are going to be some little spirals. Let's see how many I can get in there. Like that. That's pretty good. Only about 4 of them. And you're welcome to kind of change this up as much as you like. It's always nice to kind of add in a few more designs. So let me add 2 more arcs here. There we go. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to use a pencil to help me out with this next part, I think. Because this gets a bit tricky for me sometimes, and there we go. It's appreciated if there's a line to help. So I'm doing petals again, but they're a little bit more nuanced here. So I'm letting the inside curve so it creates a little triangle there. And then I'm drawing a little line inside. Just like that. So it's kind of curved and it pinches in a little at the bottom. Like that. And a little line inside. So again, we're repeating those little petals. Basically looks kind of like a crown to me. Every time I see this, it looks like a crown, but I like it. It's pretty nice. There we go. Let me remove that pencil line real quick. Something I want to add here that's going to look very nice is just along the tops of these petals, in that little space in between, let's add just a little circle there. It's going to look really nice. So there we go. Let's just keep working along the tops of those there. It looks like a little pearl, like a little bead there. All right, that's pretty good. There we go. So it went all the way to the edge. And now that I'm looking here, before we continue in this corner, I actually just noticed that on the other side over here, I forgot to add some little lines here. So let me show you what lines I'm talking about. Right in here, inside of each one of these shapes, I like to add a line right here, coming up from the base, just like that. It works up really quickly, but it actually makes the whole thing look way better. See? It looks so much better now. Let me add something similar right here. I almost forgot that I like to do that because, again, it gives it so much more dimension and a little bit more interest. There we go, those little dashes. They really do make it so much better. And I only remember that because over here, I want to work into this space over here, into this corner that we're currently in. And what I'd like to do is make some more of those kind of teardrop shaped leaves that are a bit on the long side. I want to add some more of those over here. So in order to prepare that little space, all I'm going to do is do what I've been doing with a lot of the other shapes, and I'm just going to darken this line along the edge of this fan here. So how about let's do that just a little bit, and then I can start adding those kind of long leaf shaped pieces there. There we go, like that. And notice that I like to let them kind of hug whatever shape is next to them. So let's add that line. There we go. I'm going to make another one right here, just like that, and a line. So I'm just going to kind of let them keep growing here from this spot. Okay, so that was a nice long one. How about I put one here? That's pretty good. Sometimes I let them curve. Looks pretty nice. There we go. Let's add a line. Here's another one. It's pretty good. I'm just going to kind of rotate it so I can keep working my way around. So just like the last one, I'm going to let them kind of spray outward. And notice I went past my line again. See, it's no problem. It's okay. The line is just there to keep us away from the very, very edge. That's all it's doing. There we go. I'm actually really enjoying having them kind of spill out past the line, so I'm just going to keep doing it like that. Pretty good. Here's a long one. All right. Let's see here. Let me add one on this side instead. There we go. And here, I'm letting them curve around. I'm just going to fill this spot with black right here. No problem. Just going to add here. And how about a long one? I think that looks pretty good. See how that line on the inside really helps it out a lot. Really helps add a lot of depth to that space. All right, so now we've got this space here in the corner. Let's add this little spot here. It's just a curve. So it's going to be an arch at the beginning of one of these fan designs. I'm just going to fill it in with black in the background of it. There we go. So it's filled in. So on that arc, let's put another one here. There we go. That's a good way to start them usually. So now that I have that, I'm just going to add another one here. A little bit bigger than the first one. Okay, looks pretty good. Let's see. How about, what can we add to this one? I'm just going to go ahead and add another line, another arc. And how about we just do dots on it? There we go. Kind of heading over to the edges. All right, that's pretty good. So dots. And then for our next layer, how about we do some of these little petals again? But for this one, we're going to do something just a little bit more interesting. As we work our petals around, let's allow them to get longer and longer and just follow the shape of that corner. So let's make them longer. There we go. And how about this one? Also nice and long. It looks really interesting when it follows that shape there. And then here's the next one. They're going to start getting shorter from here on up. It's going to get shorter. Oh, it's about the same length actually. And here. And there we go. So it looks pretty interesting right there. I'm going to make this one shorter. There we go. I think that one looks good. It's okay if the size changes, if the length changes, it will always look interesting. So there we go. There's what that looks like. So I'm just going to start filling in some of that space that's left there. I'm going to put a few designs there. How about we do some circles and some little spirals? That should look nice there. So we're just going to fill it in the way we have been throughout the drawing. Okay, so that's a pretty good line there. Let's go ahead and add some of those right here. So there's a spiral, and another one, maybe a circle. There we go. Just kind of mix it up a little bit. Another spiral here. There we go. Okay, and so let's see here. Let's turn it around. I think I'm just going to go ahead and fill that edge there, kind of along where the frame would be. Just going to fill it in. It's good to just do that as I go along. And you don't have to fill the frame this way. I think I just enjoy doing this sometimes. It's pretty good. It's good stuff. So now as I work my way over here, I think what I'd like to do, rather than just fill it with black, I'm going to add a couple more petals here. I think that'll look interesting. Even though this isn't really a flower, I think it'll still look good with another layer. So right here. And here, notice they are jutting out past the frame. It looks nice. I think it looks nice. Let me fill this in. I think those are all the petals that I want to kind of jut out. So I'm just going to fill it in real quick. Right here. That's pretty good. And now we can actually start moving on to our last corner. It looks like we're almost done here. It's pretty good. Nice, satisfying little drawing. Lots of things kind of growing. Looks pretty good. There we go. So let's just continue filling in some of the space here. Why not? I'm just going to add this right here. I know that the line for my frame was just a little bit sketchy, so it's hard to follow it, but it kind of doesn't matter. It's okay if it's a little wonky or wobbly. It's not a problem. So how about we work into this final corner here? What I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little bit more to this part here. Just a few more of these shapes. So like that. And so let's see here. How about right here? I'm just going to draw an arc. There we go. Going to fill it with black. All right. And then let's go ahead and add another arc over the top of that. Again, as usual, this is kind of a good start for most of them. And I'm just going to do circles. Let's do that. We did that a couple times already. Okay, good. And Let's add another arc. There we go. And for the final part of it, how about we just keep it simple and we just do one of these little shapes like that. There we go. Nice and wiggly little line. And then here what I'm going to do is you can add circles, and I'm just kind of adding them really kind of loosely. There we go. Lots of little circles. See, just like that. It can be a little messy if you like. So it looks pretty good. So we filled in that corner pretty fast with that one fan shape. That's pretty good. So how about we go ahead and just add those dashes, just like we did with the others. Let's add the little dashes. There we go. Lots and lots of dashes. Again, make sure that when you're drawing these, try to change the lengths so they look a little more interesting. If they're all the same length, it's going to look a little bit too kind of robotic or mechanical. Try to vary the sizes, since these are kind of some more natural types of shapes. There we go. That looks pretty good. Let's continue that line there. I'm just going to fill this in. Why not? We can do that sometimes. That looks pretty good. Now we've just got this little space left here. It's kind of small, so we're just going to add some small shapes to it. So we're going to go to using some circles and some spirals here. Nice easy way to fill in those little awkward spaces. There we go, just like that. And let's see, how about right here? How can we finish this off? Let's add just a few of these long leaf shapes right here. We're only going to fit a couple in here. There's not a lot of space. There we go, just like that. And that. It's just a few of them. And one here. I think, let's see here. Let's add some circles here. And just close off that frame there. That looks pretty good. I'm just going to finish this off right here, that tiny bit of space that we have left. There we go. Pretty good. All right. Let's take a look at this. Let's see how this whole thing looks right now as a whole. What have we got going on here? All right. So it looks like we're just missing this right here at the center. How about we add a little bit of texture to those shapes there? They look a little bit empty, a little lonely. So I'm just going to add these little curves. They're just giving it some depth so it doesn't look so flat anymore. That's all that this is really doing. Just making them have some shape. They looked a little boring compared to everything else in the drawing. So we don't want boring, so let's add these curves. There we go. Nice contour lines. Bringing it to life. There we go. Just going to go all the way to the end there. Perfect. There we go. So now let's look at it. Okay, that looks much better. So you see just that little difference. You could have left it alone if you wanted to. It's fine. I just decide usually when I have a shape like that, I like to add those contour lines. So there we go. This is our drawing. So now we can actually move on. If you want, take a break right now and you can come back to it later. Or just feel free, go ahead and finish this with me. What I'm going to be using is this General's Layout pencil. You're welcome to use any pencil that you are comfortable. And this is just the one that is kind of my favorite right now, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. So let's go through here, and every time I have a petal, just like this, I like to just add a little bit of graphite just there to the base. And so right here, how about on this arch, I'm going to show you, I'm just going to add graphite on the two ends there. So on the left and the right. And then how about I add some graphite here to the base. You are welcome to use a blending stump if you would like to soften up the graphite. I know that some people don't like the grainy look of pencil, but I actually do enjoy it quite a bit. If you want it to be smoother and softer, go ahead, grab yourself a blending stump, a tortillon, or anything that you like to blend your pencil with. I'm just going to use it really gently like this. Looks pretty good. So again, it's at the base that I add that little bit of graphite right at the base. I'm going to do that here too. Here we go. And this one, because that's where to me there would be a shadow, is at the base. So how about let's look at this one here. Let's go along the edge. So see along the left edge of that fan, along the edges of that flower, there we go. That's where I add some. And over here on the right hand side as well. Just going to add some to the edge because this is where that shape is kind of hiding behind the flower and that leaf. So it looks pretty good right there. Let's clean this up first. There we go. And so same thing here. I'm going to add graphite to the right edge and the left edge of that arc. That's it. That's a pretty good way to do that. Let's do a little bit to these petals. Again, I generally tend to add graphite to kind of the base. So like right here, the edge that kind of touches that center circle, that's where I add graphite. And then here along the bottom edge. I'm just going to go around doing that. So there we go on the bottom, or I guess at least what I consider the bottom. It would be like the inner edge of each one of these. There we go. Just going to work my way around. And if you have more time, more willingness, go ahead and grab that blending stuff and kind of soften or smooth out those lines. That's pretty good. It's always lots of fun. Lots and lots of fun. All right, so that looks good. Let's do this last one. There we go. So heading out from the base. All right, so let's take a look at which one we're going to do next here. How about let's add a little bit to this area here. We're going to darken this up. So all these areas where we did just some circles just to add some texture, I'm going to add some graphite to the edges there. Just going to add a little shadow like here and here. And then to this whole space that has the circles. Because to me that's kind of hiding underneath there. So it should be a little darker. Okay, so that looks pretty good. How about we add some here to the leaf, heading out from that center line. There we go. And also, let's do some right here because we got another one of these fans. So to the right side and the left side, that's where there should be a little bit of a shadow like that. There we go. Let's see here. Let's do a little bit on this leaf here. Again, it's on the center of the leaf, just like that. Pretty good. And right here, let's add some to the edge here. Alright, so we're just going to do this one at a time. Let me add some here. Let's see how this will look, kind of to that inner edge of this zone. It's always nice. You can switch it up if you want. Try to find different ways to add some shading. It doesn't all have to be exactly the same. This is pretty good here, so those are the bottoms. What else do we have here? How about, let's add some here to this circle here, to this nice kind of sphere. There we go. It'll make it look like it's bulging really nicely, just like that. And I guess since I'm already here, let's go ahead and add a little bit of shading to the insides of those petals there. Just a little bit goes a long way. Just to add a little more depth. And what is wonderful is if you decide to use a pen the whole way through and nothing but a pen, you can achieve a lot of this as well. You don't have to use a pencil. Try considering maybe like a gray pen or maybe even just a tinier pen. Let's say for this you used a 0.5 millimeter pen. How about grabbing like a 0.1 or an 0.005 if you like to use like microns or anything like that. You can always use a tiny pen and you can add lots of little details that help add some shading. So that's always nice. So here we're just finishing up that flower and it looks pretty good. Alright, so there we go. So that's the petals on the flower. We do still have a couple more things here that we're going to be shading in. How about we work on some of these fans right here. So again, just working on the left and the right of each fan. There we go. Just going to add some right there like that. It's pretty much just anywhere where that shape looks like it's kind of falling behind whatever's in front of it. So right here and right here. That's pretty good. So just a little bit of a shadow. So at this point, you are definitely welcome to continue shading and adding colors and adding lots of details to this to your heart's content. I think I'm going to pause at this point and just add this little bit of a line here. It's just going to accentuate that frame just a tiny bit. Just kind of add that little bit of a finishing touch. If I do have the time, I might return to this and continue adding to the frame and maybe add more details here and there, but I think for now I'm pretty happy with the result. So this is great. Again, this is just a good starting point. It's a great place to kind of get you drawing, get you working with your pens and your pencils again, and just kind of finding joy in the practice. So here it is. This is the end result. I really hope that you enjoyed this. I really hope that you had a bit of a relaxing time. I know that sometimes a lot of things can get really overwhelming, but it's really important just to take some time, just spend time with yourself, just draw a little bit, just do something that's comfortable, something that's easy, and sometimes all that you need is just some paper and a pen and a pencil. So here we have it. These are the two results that we got here. One in this kind of manila color, one in white. It's up to you what your preference is, but you can see there are some nice qualities to each one. So here you go. These are the two varieties. Again, I really hope that you enjoyed this. Please let me know in the comments what you thought, how you felt about it. Let me know if the pacing was good. I really enjoy doing this quite a bit. I really do hope that you have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you in the next one.